Hello everyone, I am Wendy with Winds of Change Ministries, and today I'm going to try to wrap up the story of Noah. Today is Pentecost, and this word Pentecost means five. It has the number five in it for 50, and it's 50 days beyond Easter. Okay, and this is actually has a link in the story of Noah. All right, because in the story of Noah there were the flood waters for 40 days, and then the waters were turbulent for 150 days. Now 150 is broken up into 350s, right? And each of those segments of time actually symbolizes harvest seasons. Okay, so now remember from yesterday, I said that the floodwaters came during the dark season of the year, all right, during the winter months. And but after God had the children of Israel come out of Egypt, Mitzrayim, then then he told them to do their calendar counts beginning in the spring. Okay, so if we apply the events that happened during the flood, then and just move those events back or forward, whatever, half a year, then those 350s, they symbolize the three seasons: the season of grain, the season of wine, and the season of oil. Okay, so Pentecost is linked to the season of grain. But that doesn't mean that God doesn't have special plans for those other seasons, okay? And I've already explained, and not one of my Genesis videos, but in another video, that actually Pentecost, the true Pentecost, okay, should have taken place during the season of oil. You know, the Holy Spirit rained down, and everyone spoke foreign tongues and stuff like that. But it should have taken place during the season of oil, not the season of grain. And here's the reason why. So it's the Holy Spirit. This is a clue that the Holy Spirit would come in the third era. We are currently in that third era, the season of oil. Okay, we're right there at the turning point. So, and why? Why am I saying this? Well, because there was people that had come from other countries on pilgrimage for the holy days. Okay, and because it was one of the high holy days, and they wanted to be there for it. So they were in the area on pilgrimage speaking. They spoke different languages. And when they first heard them speaking these foreign languages, they accused them of some of the people who first heard them speaking in tongues, accused them of being drunk on new wine. Well, new wine takes place after the season of wine, right? So you gather in the grapes, then you have to ferment it. Then during the next season, it's already fermented. So that's when you have the new wine. Okay. So it would be during the harvest of the oil that, people could actually accuse the apostles of this. So I know that many people know this to be Pentecost, and it is. It is. It's the first one, but there's really three, and the book of Noah gives clues to this. Okay, so and not the book of Noah, but the story of Noah. All right. So I wanted to talk a little bit about the children. Well, first, before I do, Noah died. He lived 350 years after the flood. So he was 950, okay? And remember, a day is as 1,000 years. Adam lived, he lived till he was 930. And remember, his mortal sin, that was the big event in the first day, the first 1,000 years, the first segment of time. Now, in the second segment of time, what happened with Noah was the big event, okay? And his life was 950 years. Now, we're not going to be able to use the main characters beyond this, because after the flood, then everyone's lifespan was shortened. So it's not going to be like one person is the main event for that particular segment of time anymore. But for those first segments of time, this pattern is established, okay? That a major event is going to categorize that particular segment of time, all right? So anyway, as we rush through thousands and thousands of years to the Messianic era, okay? So, but I did want to share some fun facts, because this is funny. You know, it just goes to show how amazing God is. He's amazing, okay? Because there were prophecies that Noah, let me tell you. So after the flood waters, Nuakh, he went ahead and became a, he had wine. All right, he became a vine dresser, or whatever you want to call him. So he grew grapes and fermented his own wine, and he got drunk. And one son found him naked and drunk. And anyway, so the story goes, the other brothers went and covered his nakedness, his shame. And when Noah woke up, he knew what had happened, and he blessed both Shem and Jepet, or Japheth, okay, however you want to pronounce it. My interpretation, the reconstructed Paleo-Hebrew, I use Jepet. But anyway, he blessed them, and he did not bless Ham. In fact, he cursed the fourth son of Ham, Canaan. So he told Shem that he was blessed of Yahweh. He was the blessed one, and that Canaan would be his servants. Okay, and then that's to Shem, and then to Japheth, he said that Yahweh, Elohim, God, would entice him. This word is very interesting because it could mean entice and it could also mean enlarge. Both of them fit. But he was going to entice the descendants of Jepet, and that they, or enlarge, however you want to put it, and then that they would occupy and dwell in the tents of Shem, and then Canaan would become their servants. Okay, so let's look at the genealogies just for a moment. Shem, he had Eber. Well, that's the real main character in Shem, his descendants. So basically, the ark landed in Mount Ararat, which is in Turkey, right there by Azerbaijan, okay, and in Armenia. And so the children of Shem, they really, because they were Noah's favorite, okay, the first son, so they stayed in that area. And east, I don't know if you're seeing the east, but anyway, I don't know how I was looking over there, but east. They went east of Mount Ararat. They were on the east side of the Euphrates River, okay? Japheth, he actually went north of Mount Ararat. He went into Azerbaijan. He went into an area that was known as Ashkenaz for a long time. Okay, but this is like an area of Poland and Russia and different things like that. All right, and Germany and just, that whole area. Also, his children are Greece and the Italians and everything. That is, and like his children were they took over the islands in that area. Okay, so, and then Ham, his descendants took over the peninsula, the Middle Eastern peninsula, like where Israel is now, Saudi Arabia, and Africa. Okay, so his descendants included his first, I believe it was the firstborn, was Egypt, Mitzrayim. Okay, and all kinds of people. Canaan, he settled in the Middle East. Okay, that was his area, like Israel, Saudi Arabia. Okay, that's where Canaan. But see, Ham, his descendants went down into Africa. All right, so that gives you an idea. Now get this. So a few generations later, after Abraham, had died, and a couple of generations come along, descendants of Eber, they hopped over the Euphrates River and started going into Ham territory. Not Ham, Canaan territory. Why? Because God said that they would become their servants. And this was Abraham. Okay, so Abraham went down into that area, and he went in as a sojourner, just someone who's just a foreigner. So he went to sojourn with them, and anyway, and then after a few, after 400 years, plus the wilderness period, so about 450 years. Anyway, his more like 500 years, because Abraham was in that area before his children went down into Egypt for 400 years. Then they came up and then they wandered around for a while. Regardless, okay? So about 500 years later, after the promise, his children did take over that territory. Okay? Now this is the interesting. Now remember, Abraham, he is Shem. He's a descendant of Shem. Shem, Eber, Abraham. Okay, and it didn't go in that line. There was for a few more, but that's the line. All right, and what did Noah say? That Canaan would be Shem's servant. Okay, so there we have that prophecy fulfilled. And guess what? What did I say about Japheth? His descendants, Ashkenaz, right, was one of those descendants. His descendants would occupy and dwell in the tents of Shem. Right now, the Ashkenaz Jews have taken over Israel. A lot of people complain about the Jews not being the line of Shem. Not all of them, okay? And that they're not true Jews. And that the Ashkenaz Jews are down there, which were basically descendants of Jepet, who had changed religious views. That's it. They were Ashkenaz. But really, we're just a big melting pot. I just wanted to point out that God's prophecies have come to pass. Okay, so the Old Testament. A lot of people says, "Oh no." Well, guess what? You can find Genesis writings, very old books of Genesis. Okay, thousands of years old, and yet the Ashkenaz, the descendants of Jepet, live in the tents. They dwell in the tents of Shem. And And the part two to that blessing was, and Canaan would become their servants. In other words, it was specifically in the area where Canaan had originally occupied. So even though Shem, the descendants of Shem, went into India and Asia and Russia and all over the place, it was very specific that it was going to be in Canaan, okay? And we know that to be true. We've got Ashkenaz, not descendants, and I'm sure that there are many that, because there's mix and stuff. But there's a lot of people who know that Ashkenaz Jews are not, many of them are not true descendants of Abraham. They're just converts, okay? So, and this has all happened, within the last 100 years. All of this has happened within the last 100 years. Yet it was a prophecy thousands and thousands of years old. And that's amazing. Anyway, I just wanted to share all of this with you guys. Happy Pentecost. Pentecost of grain, anyway. And I hope you have a wonderful day. My name is Wendy, and we're all living in the winds of change.